Okay, I've just come back from my training run today and I wore one of my favorite shoes of pretty much all time, really. It's the Xero Shoes Mesa Trail 2. And I was thinking on that run, well, it's about time that I do a quick comparison between the Mesa Trail 2 and the Scrambler Low EV. And these are both from Xero Shoes. They have very similar fits, but they're a world of difference underfoot. And that's really what I want to get to today. But first of all, let's get to the fit, because if it doesn't fit your foot, it's not going to work. So right off the bat, it's worth talking about that toe box. It's not the widest in the market, but for 80–90% of us, it's absolutely fine. If you've got a longer second toe, this is actually a perfected kind of fit for you, because you can see there's a small taper around this big toe side. And even though my big toe is actually the longest part of my foot, I still make it work and it is absolutely fine. But just keep in mind how much toe splay you need in a shoe. The other aspect of Xero Shoes, which is kind of unique for it, is the depth of it. So over this toe box here, it's got a real nice good depth. And that means you can flex your toes up and down and around, and you are not encumbered by any material over the top. I personally love that feel. It's exactly what I want. The midfoot, it's a little bit wider than others, not the widest on the market. If you need something wider, then I say go towards feet. But the actual depth over the midfoot, it's really nice and deep as well. And also this flexible material up at the top, and the Mesa Trail exactly the same, super flexible. It means it kind of hugs your foot just like a glove would. So in general, it's a deeper shoe. It's moderately wide in the midfoot. It's moderately wide in the forefoot, but it's not going to drown your foot. So as for the major differences between the two shoes, I would really say it comes down to one thing, and that's this outsole that wraps up and around the shoe of the Scrambler Low. So you can see that it looks like it comes up quite high here, but actually this is a false midsole that comes up higher just to make it look like a traditional conventional shoe. And it does actually create a little bit of what one of my readers called a boat-like feeling. It basically comes up and around the foot a little bit. And that means if you do have that wider or flatter foot or flatter arch, then you may feel it a little more. So it's just something to note. And on the Mesa Trail 2, you don't have that at all. It's so flexible that you just wouldn't feel it, even if you do spill over the sides a little bit, which can happen, especially because this upper is a lot more flexible, so it does allow for that. You just have that more relaxed kind of glove-like feeling. So that is the major difference. Heel lock on both of these, I absolutely love. I love the heel lock on Xero Shoes in general, and I think it's to do with this strap-like design. So you see a strap going through the side there. This continues all the way down and through to the heel as well. And that just helps cinch in the ankle cuff and that heel for a perfected fit. I always go for a lace lock in there just to make sure I lock this cuff down a little more. And well, it's great. I've done long distances in both of these shoes. I've done hundreds of miles over a few days in the Mesa Trail 2. And I've done a 100k race in the Scrambler Low, and both of them amazing in terms of I didn't get any foot issues at all. But let's get into the feel of both of them, because that's really where they differ. And I can just show you in pretty much 1-2 shots. Look at that. This Mesa Trail 2, it's super duper flexible, and yes, I've put a lot of wear through this, so it's going to be a lot more flexible, but you can see it rolls into absolute nothing. And onto the Scrambler Low, you can see that it does flex, and it does kind of flex, especially in this forefoot. It's just a little stiffer through this heel and midfoot section here. So that's not a particularly bad thing. It depends what you want from the shoe. And this is why I chose the Scrambler Low for a 100k race the other year, is because it had a little more protection underfoot and the outsole, but we'll get to that in a minute. And if I'm going to be on a rocky, kind of like alpine-y technical terrain, then I'm going to want a little bit of protection just to make sure those sharp rocks don't actually damage my foot at all. And jumping back to the Mesa Trail 2, well, that is one thing that does occur. So sometimes I go running in the Mesa Trail 2 and I will land too heavy on a rock and it would just come straight through that outsole because it is so thin. All of the wear that I put through this, I would probably say that I'm down to a few millimeters actually underfoot there. And to be honest, it feels absolutely amazing. It is almost barefoot at that point. It changes the way that I run, my gait, and it feels natural. I hate to use that word, but it does feel natural. Whereas running in the Scrambler Low, well, it just feels like a little more substantial stuff under your foot. And that's okay in those certain circumstances, but you just got to note that that's what it's going to be. And then this upper is a little stiffer on the Scrambler Low than it is on the Mesa Trail. And it's good because that just allows it to secure your foot in place, especially with that slightly higher stack height. It's good to have a secure platform or secure footing on that platform. And as you can see from this Mesa Trail 2, very, very pliable. You can see absolutely any part of this shoe. It's just like a glove. I'll say it again. And that's what you want if you want that real barefoot kind of feel. That's where it differs in the feel of the shoe. Also, the outsole does differ. So you can see here, I've worn through these a lot. I've got over 1,000K on them. You know what? I still running them because I still love them. You can see this chevron kind of design here. And it did okay at the start, but it wore down fairly quickly, I would say. And you know what? It didn't do that great in the mud. It wasn't really a mud shoe from the start, and I would definitely run it on the drier conditions. Whereas the Scrambler Low is different. It's got this Michelin rubber, which I'm not sure about the rubber. It does okay on the wet rocks and stuff. But the main thing is that tread pattern. You can see these lugs are kind of small. They're spaced kind of far apart. And it does pretty well on the mud. I wouldn't say it's a typical deep mud fell shoe like a UK fell shoe, but it does well when you do hit the mud. And I actually did run the 100K in the UK in these, and they were great. But still, it does also mean because these are smaller lugs, they will wear down very quickly if you do take them onto the tarmac. And mine did wear down quite quickly. This is a second pair that I've got. It's just worth noting that is probably the major difference between the two outsoles. So that kind of dovetails nicely onto the durability aspect of the two shoes. Like I say, I've got over 1,000K on these. These new pair I don't have as much on, but I probably had about 500K on my old pair. And you know what? The old version I had was not the EV version. The main difference there is basically this upper material changed from a more plasticky kind of mesh material, which definitely means that it's going to be a bit more durable. And that's a good thing because my old versions actually wore down in this forefoot area and started to break through into a hole. I hope this won't happen in this version, and I believe it won't happen, and that's probably why they made the update. So I'm looking forward to actually getting a few more miles in here. So it's worth noting on both of these, the toe box or the toe caps here, they're not super stiff. If you do kick a rock, you're not protected that much. You are protected a little more on the Scrambler Low, just purely because this outsole does extend up a little higher, so less likely to actually damage your toes. Whereas this Mesa Trail, well, again, super flexible. You kick a rock, it's going to hurt you. The outsole, as I said, they're both going to wear down fairly quickly if you take them on harder surfaces. Even the roads, I run these on the road sometimes now purely because of the feel. So even though this is the Michelin rubber, I still believe that these are actually going to wear down just as quick as the Mesa Trail. So I wouldn't give it to one over the other. I would actually choose it for the functionality of the outsole rather than the durability of the outsole. And then the upper, as you can see, I am breaking through a tiny bit on this Mesa Trail, but again, I've got over 1,000K on them. It's understandable. And then on the outsole as well, you can see it's starting to crack there as well. It cracked and it actually did split. I'm not bothered. I've got a lot of miles out of these, and it's just what you're going to expect out of an older shoe. All in all, it still did pretty good. That won't happen on the Scrambler Low, and that's because there's just not as much flexibility here. So the crack likely happened because I landed on a rock and it flexed under there and actually tore. It would just it'd be near impossible for that to happen on the Scrambler Low, purely because it's just a bit more stiff around that area. Again, good thing, bad thing. Do you want a barefoot feel or do you want a more protective, durable feel? So which one do you go for? I think it's actually pretty easy. If you like a more protective style shoe, which you may take onto a little bit of mud, then it's the Scrambler Low. And that's because of the outsole, that's because of that stack height that we do see. But if you're looking for that real minimal barefoot kind of feel, then it's just the Mesa Trail 2. I love this shoe purely because of that feel. And you know what? It's the only trail shoe that I have which really does feel minimal. I think there's a $30 difference between the two. So the Scrambler Low coming in at 150 and then 120, I think, for the Mesa Trail 2. Either way, you can pick them up on sales every now and then. And if you find them on sale, they're both a good buy. So, and if you've tried Xero shoes in the past and you found that they're not quite wide enough for you, then definitely check out Freet. They're a good option if you need that wider, deeper fit. And if you're the opposite, if you found the actual fit of the Xero shoes too deep and you need a little less volume through the top of your foot just to get a good secure lockdown, go back and try Vivo Barefoot instead, because they are definitely a lot more shallow and the lockdown on them will be a lot better for you. And if you're looking for more stack height, so cushion underfoot, try an outer shoe. Superior is definitely a favorite of mine because of the feel for a cushion kind of shoe. But then also the King MT2 is also a really good option from Altra, which is a bit more aggressive, has a bit more grip and durability and protection, but it's still got some ground feel in there as well. So they're the cushioned options if you need them. Otherwise, that's it.